Have you ever noticed how two people can walk through the same world, yet live entirely different lives? One person wakes up in the morning, looks outside, and sees rain as a blessing, a reminder of renewal, a reason to smile. Another wakes up, sees the same rain, and curses the sky for ruining their day. The world did not change. The rain was the same. What changed was the mind. This is the invisible compass that guides our lives. Wherever the mind points, the entire journey of life bends in that direction. If the compass is tilted toward anger, life feels like a battlefield. If it leans toward gratitude, life feels like a gift. If it spins wildly with no center, life feels like chaos. The Buddha once said, "All that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become." These words are not just poetry. They are a mirror reflecting the deepest truth about the human condition. Your mind is the artist and your life is the canvas. But here's the question we rarely stop to ask: who is holding the brush? Most people don't realize they're painting unconsciously. Their thoughts run on autopilot, coloring every moment without awareness. They think they are simply reacting to life, when in reality, life is reacting to them. Imagine walking through a crowded street. One person notices only the noise, the traffic, the frustration. Another notices the laughter of children, the rhythm of footsteps, the endless stories unfolding in every face. Both are right, both are true, but the reality they experience depends on where their mind goes. And this is why the mind is not just important, it is destiny. When we say, "where your mind goes, your life follows," it isn't a metaphor, it is the law of our existence. A restless mind creates a restless life. A peaceful mind creates a peaceful life. The world outside may look the same, but the world inside dictates how it feels. Think about it. Every choice you've made, every action you've taken began as a thought. Before you spoke a word, it was born in the mind. Before you took a step, it was guided by intention. Even your habits, the small, invisible decisions you repeat each day, are rooted in thought. If you want to know your past, look at your present mind. If you want to see your future, look at where your mind is going. This is why the mind is often compared to a wild horse in Buddhist teachings. Left untamed, it runs in every direction, dragging your life into storms of worry, fear, and desire. But once guided, once trained with awareness, that same wild horse becomes the vehicle of liberation. There is a story told in ancient texts of a monk who once sat quietly by a river. A young man approached him, frustrated by the chaos of his life. He asked, "Why does everything I do lead to suffering? Why does peace never last?" The monk looked at the water and replied, "Because your mind is like this river. Wherever it flows, your life flows too. If the water is muddy, you cannot see clearly. If the current is wild, you are carried away. But if you calm the river, you can see the reflection of the sky." The young man was silent. He understood. His problem was not the world. His problem was his own compass. And so it is with us. The invisible compass of the mind is always turning, always directing, whether we notice it or not. Some follow it blindly and wonder why they end up lost. Others learn to hold it steadily, and they discover a path that feels like coming home. Here is the truth most of us overlook. You don't live in the world as it is. You live in the world as your mind perceives it. That means you have more power than you realize. You don't have to control the weather, the economy, or the behavior of others. You only need to guide the direction of your mind. When you understand this, life changes. Suddenly, stress becomes an invitation to breathe. Pain becomes a teacher. Even failure becomes a doorway to wisdom. The compass no longer spins in panic, it points toward meaning. And this is the beginning of the journey. To see that the greatest adventure is not out there in the mountains or the cities, but in here, in the landscapes of the mind. To realize that by knowing your mind, you are, in truth, shaping your destiny. So as we step forward, remember this: your mind is the compass. Your life is the journey. And where that compass turns, every step, every breath, every heartbeat will follow. Every great forest begins with a single seed. It seems so small, almost invisible, yet within it lies the power to transform an entire landscape. In the same way, every moment of your life is born from the seeds planted in the soil of your mind. When a thought arises, it is not just a fleeting shadow. It is a seed. Left alone, it may pass away. But when watered with attention, when repeated day after day, it takes root. Slowly, it grows into habits, into actions, into the very shape of your life. This is why the Buddha taught, mind precedes all phenomena. If with an impure mind one speaks or acts, suffering follows as the wheel follows the hoof of the ox. If with a pure mind one speaks or acts, happiness follows like a shadow that never leaves. It is not the world that defines you. It is the quality of the seeds you plant. Think about it. A person who constantly feeds seeds of anger begins to live in a world filled with enemies. They walk through life ready for conflict, ready to explode, and soon the whole world seems hostile. Another person nurtures seeds of kindness. They see opportunities to help, to smile, to connect. Slowly, their world begins to bloom with friendship and trust. Same world, different seeds. There's an old parable of two wolves that live inside each of us. One wolf is anger, greed, jealousy, and fear. The other wolf is compassion, wisdom, patience, and love. A child once asked a wise elder which wolf wins. The elder replied, the one you feed. This story may not be from Buddhist scriptures, but its truth echoes perfectly with the Dharma. The mind is a field and we are its gardeners. Every thought is a seed we choose to feed or neglect. Feed fear and fear grows. Feed gratitude and gratitude grows. And yet most people never stop to ask, which seeds am I planting today? We scroll through endless screens, consuming images of comparison and desire. Each glance waters the seeds of craving. We replay old grudges in our minds, watering seeds of resentment. We tell ourselves, I'm not good enough, and we water seeds of doubt. Then we wonder why our lives feel heavy, why joy seems far away. But it doesn't have to be this way. The miracle of the mind is that the field is always fertile. No matter how many weeds have grown, no matter how tangled the roots may seem, new seeds can always be planted. Every moment is a chance to begin again. Imagine a woman who has spent years feeding seeds of fear. She is cautious, withdrawn, always expecting the worst. Her life becomes a cage of her own making. One day she decides to sit quietly for 10 minutes, just watching her breath. At first, the weeds of worry overwhelm her, but with patience she plants a new seed, the seed of mindfulness. Day after day, that seed grows stronger. Slowly, her world begins to change. She notices the small joys around her. She begins to trust again. Her reality shifts, not because the world changed, but because her garden did. This is the profound truth. Reality is not fixed. It bends toward the seeds you plant. In Buddhism, this is the essence of karma. Karma is not some distant punishment handed down by the universe. It is the natural result of seeds and soil. Plant mango seeds and you will not get thorns. Plant compassion and you will not harvest cruelty. The law is simple. You reap what you sow. And once you see this clearly, responsibility awakens. You realize that blaming the world, blaming others, blaming fate, it only keeps you trapped. The power is already in your hands, in your mind, in the very next thought you choose to water. Think about your own life for a moment. What seeds have you been planting? When you wake up, do you water the seeds of worry by checking your phone before you even breathe? Do you water the seeds of envy by comparing yourself to others? Or do you take a moment to water gratitude, to remind yourself, I am alive, I am here. This moment is a gift. Small seeds, small choices, but over time they grow into forests that shape your destiny. And here is the beauty. Even the smallest seed of awareness can transform the whole field. Just noticing a negative thought instead of drowning in it is already planting the seed of mindfulness. Just choosing kindness once instead of anger is already planting the seed of compassion. These seeds may seem fragile, but they are stronger than we think. With patience, they can grow into trees that shelter the whole of our lives. The question is not whether you are planting seeds. The question is, which seeds are you choosing to feed? Because in the end, life doesn't just happen to us. It grows from us. From the ground of the mind, from the invisible seeds that sprout in silence, shaping the world we walk through. So as we continue our journey, remember this: the thoughts you nurture today are the life you will live tomorrow. Choose wisely what you plant. Choose wisely what you water. For the garden of the mind never stops growing. Have you ever felt trapped, even when no walls surrounded you? The body is free, but the mind feels locked in a cell. This is the silent prison that negativity builds, link by link, thought by thought, until life itself feels like a cage. We spoke of seeds before, how thoughts grow into the reality we live. Now imagine planting only seeds of anger, fear, envy, and doubt. What kind of garden would that create? Not one of peace, not one of joy, but a tangled wilderness where every path leads back to suffering. Negativity does not arrive all at once. It creeps in quietly. A single complaint, a single grudge, a single fearful thought. At first they seem harmless, like tiny chains so light we hardly feel them. But with repetition, those chains grow heavier, wrapping around the heart, weighing down the spirit. The Buddha taught that suffering arises not simply from pain itself, but from the mind's reaction to it. Anger fuels more anger. Fear feeds more fear. Craving breeds more craving. Each reaction forges another link in the chain. And soon, without even noticing, we find ourselves prisoners of our own thoughts. Think of a person consumed by jealousy. Every success of another feels like a threat. Every smile they see in others feels like a loss in themselves. Day after day, their mind becomes a cage, closing tighter until they can no longer breathe freely. The world hasn't changed, only their mind has. But because their mind is shackled, their life follows suit. There's a powerful story from the time of the Buddha about a man named Angulimala. He was feared as a ruthless killer, wearing a necklace of severed fingers around his neck. His mind had been twisted by anger and delusion, and he lived in a prison of violence. But when he encountered the Buddha, something shifted. The calm presence, the unshakable compassion of the enlightened one, pierced through the chains he had forged around himself. He laid down his weapon, let go of his hatred, and chose a different path. That story reminds us, even the darkest prison of the mind can be broken open. But here's the truth. Most of us are not like Angulimala with weapons in our hands. Our prison is quieter, more subtle. We chain ourselves with worry about the future, regret over the past, resentment toward others, and criticism of ourselves. We replay conversations that hurt us. We build walls of what if and why me. And then we wonder why life feels so heavy, why joy slips away. The most dangerous part of this prison is that we believe it is real. We mistake our negative thoughts for reality itself. We think, I am not good enough. I will never succeed. People will never change. But these are not truths. They are bars we've built with our own minds. The Buddha once compared the mind to a house on fire. If we do not see clearly, the flames of greed, hatred, and ignorance burn us from within. But when awareness arises, when mindfulness enters, we can step outside the burning house and breathe again. So how do we break free? The first step is to see the chains clearly. Notice the patterns of thought that weigh you down. Instead of being swallowed by anger, recognize, this is anger, this is fear, this is craving. Just naming it loosens the chain. The second step is to remember that you are not your thoughts. Thoughts come and go like clouds across the sky. They only become chains when we cling to them. When we let them pass, when we refuse to feed them, they dissolve. Imagine sitting by a river. Leaves float by on the surface of the water. Some are beautiful, some are rotten, but none of them can harm you unless you reach in and grab hold. Thoughts are the same. If you let them float by, they cannot bind you. And slowly, with practice, the prison door begins to open. Negativity no longer dictates your life. The mind that once felt heavy begins to feel light. The heart that once felt locked begins to feel free. Yet freedom is not simply about escaping negativity. It is about transforming it. Anger can become compassion. Fear can become wisdom. Suffering can become a teacher. Just as a lotus rises from the mud, the most painful experiences can give birth to the deepest awakening. The truth is, we all carry chains, but chains are not permanent. They are made, moment by moment, and they can be unmade moment by moment. The choice is always here, always now. So ask yourself, what chains am I carrying? What prison have I built in my own mind? And more importantly, am I ready to let go of the keys that bind me? Because when we see clearly, when we understand that the prison is of our own making, we realize something extraordinary. The door has always been unlocked. And once you step out of that prison, you will discover something even more beautiful waiting ahead. A garden within, where peace and joy are patiently waiting to be cultivated. When you walk out of the prison of negativity, what do you find? At first, there is silence, space, a sense of possibility. And then if you look closely, you'll notice something even more profound. There is a garden waiting inside you, a place where seeds of peace, love, and clarity are ready to grow if you choose to nurture them. The Buddha once said, "With our thoughts we make the world." This means that just as we can create chains of suffering, we can also create blossoms of joy. The mind is not only a prison, it is also a field, and every day with every thought we are tending it. But here's the secret: a garden doesn't flourish on its own. Left unattended, weeds of doubt and anger return. Left unwatered, seeds of kindness wither. To truly transform life, we must cultivate awareness deliberately, with the same care a gardener gives to their plants. Picture a gardener in the early morning. They step into the soil, hands gentle but steady, pulling out weeds, watering roots, protecting new sprouts from harsh winds. It is not always easy. Some days are hot, others stormy. But over time, with patience, the barren land begins to bloom. Your mind is no different. Awareness is the water. Mindfulness is the sunlight. Compassion is the rich soil. If you tend to them daily, you create a landscape where peace naturally grows. Take gratitude, for example. At first it may feel small, even forced. You remind yourself, "I am grateful for this meal, this breath, this moment." But with repetition, that small seed becomes a tree. Gratitude starts to shade your days. It shelters you during storms. It reminds you again and again that even in hardship, life still offers beauty. Or consider compassion. When you choose to see another person not as an enemy but as someone struggling, you water the seed of understanding. Slowly, the walls of separation crumble. You begin to realize that every person, even those who hurt you, is also seeking happiness and running from pain. Compassion grows, and with it, your world softens. There's a story told of a monk who carried water up a hill every day to pour into a small, barren patch of soil. For weeks, nothing grew. People mocked him. They said, "Why waste your time? There is nothing here." But he kept watering. One day, a single green sprout appeared. Weeks later, it became a tree. Years later, that tree offered shade to travelers, fruit to the hungry, and beauty to all who passed by. Awareness works in the same way. At first, the effort feels invisible. Sitting in silence for a few minutes each day, noticing your breath, pausing before reacting, it may not look like much. But slowly, the sprouts appear. You notice yourself less reactive, more patient, more alive. And before you know it, the garden within you is bearing fruit. But cultivating awareness also means being vigilant. Just as a gardener must remove weeds, we must guard against negative habits. When anger arises, don't feed it. When envy appears, don't water it. Notice it, acknowledge it, and let it go. Otherwise, those weeds will overtake your garden. The practice is simple, though not always easy. Pause, breathe, notice, choose. That is how you cultivate positive awareness. Not by forcing, not by rushing, but by steady attention, moment by moment. And here's the most beautiful part. When your inner garden flourishes, it spreads outward. People around you feel it. Your peace calms others. Your kindness inspires others. Your awareness becomes contagious, like the fragrance of flowers carried by the wind. In truth, the world does not need more noise, more speed, more distraction. What it needs are more gardens, hearts, and minds rooted in awareness. Because when enough people cultivate peace within, the outer world will begin to reflect it. So ask yourself, what seeds am I watering today? Am I feeding fear or feeding love? Am I letting weeds grow wild, or am I gently cultivating what is wholesome? Every breath, every choice is a chance to tend your inner field. And when you do, you may discover that joy is not something you must chase outside yourself. Joy is already here, quietly waiting, like a flower ready to bloom in the garden of your mind. And as this garden begins to grow, another challenge arises, not from within, but from outside. The world around us is loud, distracting, always pulling our attention away from what matters. To truly protect the garden, we must learn how to face those distractions without being swept away. A garden can only flourish if it is protected. Even the most beautiful seeds, even the most careful watering can be undone if weeds and pests are left to grow unchecked. And in our time, the greatest threat to the garden within is not only what rises inside us, but what constantly invades from the outside. We live in an age of noise. Notifications blink, screens glow, advertisements scream for our eyes, our ears, our hearts. Every moment, something is trying to pull our attention away from ourselves, away from the present. And attention, once scattered, is like water spilled on the ground. It cannot nourish anything. The Buddha once said, "Whatever a monk frequently thinks upon, that will become the inclination of his mind." In today's world, this teaching has never been more urgent, because what we frequently think upon is often not what we choose, but what is chosen for us by algorithms, by endless scrolling, by a world designed to capture and consume our focus. Think about it. How many times have you reached for your phone not even knowing why? How many times have you lost an hour, 2 hours scrolling through images and headlines and afterward felt not nourished but empty? These are not harmless moments. They are the subtle theft of life itself. Attention is life. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. If your attention is stolen, so is your vitality. Imagine two people sitting in the same room. One is scrolling endlessly, pulled in every direction by the flood of information. Their mind jumps from envy to desire to outrage in seconds. The other sits quietly, breathing, noticing the sounds around them, aware of their own thoughts. Same room, same time. Yet one feels restless, the other feels at peace. The difference is attention. And this is the battle of our era, not a battle fought with swords or armies, but with focus. Every company, every platform, every voice out there is competing for your gaze. But the cost of losing this battle is not just distraction. It is the loss of your own life's direction. The Buddha taught that the mind is like a mirror. If covered with dust, it cannot reflect clearly. In the same way, if our attention is constantly clouded by noise, by distraction, by craving, we cannot see reality as it is. We live not in the present, but in fragments pulled apart by 1,000 invisible hands. So how do we protect our attention? Not by running away from the world, but by choosing deliberately. Just as a gardener places fences around what is precious, we must learn to guard our focus. This means noticing when we are being pulled away. It means pausing before we click, breathing before we react, asking, is this nourishing my mind or is it depleting it? Some distractions are easy to see, the endless feed, the constant noise of gossip or news. But others are subtle. The habit of replaying old arguments in your head, the compulsion to compare yourself to others, the craving for approval that keeps you restless. All of these are thieves of attention. Yet here lies the power. You can reclaim it. You can turn off the noise. You can choose silence over scrolling, presence over distraction. You can remember that your attention is not cheap. It is the most precious resource you have. And something extraordinary happens when you do. When you take back your focus, the garden within begins to flourish again. You see beauty in the ordinary. You taste food more deeply. You listen to others with your whole heart. You begin to realize that life itself is richer than any distraction could ever offer. But this battle is ongoing. Every day the world will try to pull you away. Every day you will be tempted to scatter your mind. Yet every day is also a chance to return, to bring your attention home, to water what truly matters. So ask yourself, who or what is holding my attention right now? Am I giving it away freely? Or am I guarding it like the treasure it truly is? Because in the end, attention is not just about focus. It is about freedom. To choose where your mind rests is to choose the life you live. And when we learn to protect our attention from the storm of distractions, we uncover something even deeper, the secret of true mastery. Not mastery over the world outside, but mastery over the world within. We often believe that strength is measured by how much control we have over the world. The job, the money, the relationships, the reputation. We think mastery is bending life to our will, making everything outside obey our desire. But the truth, that path never ends. You win one battle, another appears. You solve one problem, 10 more rise. Try to control the outer world and you'll spend your life chasing shadows, exhausted, restless, never at peace. The Buddha once pointed to this very illusion. He taught that craving is like trying to straighten a dog's tail. The moment you let go, it curls back again. No matter how hard you try to fix the outside, it will never stay fixed. Real mastery begins elsewhere, not with the outer but with the inner. Think of a storm. Winds howling, rain pounding, trees bending. If you stand in the storm and try to stop the wind, you'll fail. But if you step inside into a quiet shelter, the storm still rages, yet within you there is calm. This is the way of true mastery, not ending the storm but discovering the stillness that no storm can touch. Consider anger. Someone insults you. They provoke you. If your mastery depends on controlling them, you are powerless because they hold the key to your peace. But if your mastery is over your own mind, their words fall into silence. They no longer command your reaction. You remain free. And isn't this freedom the highest power? To walk through the world without being ruled by it. To live among praise and blame, success and failure, gain and loss, yet not be enslaved by any of them. The Buddha described this as becoming island unto yourself. Imagine that. While the waves of the world crash, you remain unmoved, secure, grounded in the depth of your own awareness. This is not about apathy or withdrawal. It is about strength. It is about standing in life fully, yet not being carried away. A person who masters the outer world may appear powerful, but one who masters the inner world cannot be shaken. Look at history. Empires rose and fell. Kings ruled lands but could not rule their own minds. Desire consumed them, anger destroyed them, fear haunted them. And yet in silence, a monk under a tree with no possessions, no army, no throne, sat in complete mastery, untouched by the world. Which power is greater? Every one of us is faced with this choice daily. Will we try to control what is beyond our grasp, the moods of others, the twists of fortune, the changing tides of life? Or will we turn inward to what can truly be mastered, our own thoughts, our own responses, our own awareness? And here lies the paradox. When you stop trying to control the outer and begin to master the inner, the outer world itself begins to shift. You speak with more clarity. You act with more wisdom. You influence not by force, but by presence. The world follows the mind that is steady, calm, and free. True mastery does not shout. It does not dominate. It simply stands like a mountain rooted in silence. And once you taste this freedom, the endless struggle to control everything outside feels absurd. You no longer chase. You no longer cling. You simply live, aware, awake, unshaken. This is the power hidden in every one of us. Not the power to bend life to our will, but the power to no longer be bent by it. And when you walk this path, when you live from this inner mastery, something extraordinary begins to happen. The mind becomes not just free, but luminous. It shines with wisdom, with compassion, with clarity. And this light, once uncovered, cannot be dimmed. The mind is not a blank canvas. Every thought you allow to linger is like a brushstroke. Each moment of fear, each spark of anger, each breath of kindness, all of it leaves a trace. Over time, those traces form patterns, and those patterns become your life. This is the unseen law of karma, not some distant judgment, not some mysterious hand from the heavens, but the natural unfolding of cause and effect, beginning in the very mind you carry each day. Imagine a drop of ink falling into clear water. At first, it seems small, almost harmless, but soon the color spreads, shaping the whole glass. In the same way, a single thought, repeated again and again, colors the whole of your being. Think of the person who constantly repeats, "I am not enough." That thought, planted like a seed, grows into a forest of insecurity, It shapes how they walk, how they speak, how they love, how they dream. And in time, life reflects back to them the very story they have told themselves. Now think of another who nurtures the thought, "I am capable of compassion." That too becomes a seed. It grows into patience, into understanding, into kindness that reaches beyond themselves. And life, in turn, blossoms with harmony because the mind has planted harmony first. The Buddha called this the law of dependent origination. As the mind inclines, so the world unfolds. Whatever you cultivate inside, you become. And whatever you become, you radiate. Pause for a moment and reflect. What have you been repeating in your own mind? What seeds are you watering each day? Because the truth is, you cannot escape the harvest of your own thoughts. The angry mind cannot live in peace. The fearful mind cannot know freedom. The greedy mind cannot taste contentment. But the mindful mind, the compassionate mind, the wise mind, these bear fruits of joy, of clarity, of deep unshakable peace. And here lies the real responsibility. Karma is not punishment, it is reflection. Life mirrors back the mind. To change your life, you do not fight the mirror, you change the face it reflects. Consider a field. If you plant thorns, you cannot expect roses. If you sow weeds, you cannot hope for rice. The harvest does not lie, neither does the mind. What you think, you become. What you dwell on, you attract. What you nurture, you eventually live. Even science echoes this truth. Neuroscientists tell us the brain rewires itself with repeated thought. Pathways of negativity strengthen with every replay of resentment. But so too, pathways of resilience grow with every moment of gratitude. The mind is not fixed. It is shaped by the very patterns you choose. This is why mastery of the inner world is so vital. Because every thought you tame, every moment you bring into awareness, every spark of compassion you protect, it all sets in motion a chain of causes that ripple through your life and the lives around you. And here's the beauty. It only takes one mindful moment to interrupt the chain of suffering. One breath, one pause, one choice to plant a different seed. Imagine the ripple of that choice. Instead of anger, you plant patience. Instead of judgment, you plant understanding. Instead of fear, you plant courage. The karma of that seed will follow you. It will change the way you speak, the way you act, the way life responds. This is not magic. This is the natural law of mind. Where your thoughts go, your life follows. And when you finally see this not as an idea but as a lived reality, something extraordinary happens. You realize you are not a prisoner of fate. You are the gardener of your destiny. The question is no longer, what will happen to me? The question becomes, what seeds am I planting right now? And with that question, the door opens into a way of living where karma is no longer unconscious but conscious. Where you become not the victim of your mind, but its master. A gardener does not simply wish for flowers. He tills the soil, he waters, he removes weeds, he tends with patience. In the same way, transforming the mind is not a matter of hope, it is a matter of practice. And the tools for this transformation are already in your hands. The first tool is mindfulness. It is the simple, profound art of being present. To notice your breath, your step, your thoughts as they arise without judgment, without clinging. Most people believe mindfulness is something abstract, but it is as ordinary as drinking a glass of water with full awareness. When you are mindful, you begin to catch the seeds as they fall into the soil of your mind. You can choose not to plant anger. You can choose to water kindness. Without mindfulness, you are asleep in the garden of your life and weeds grow wild. With mindfulness, you awaken as the caretaker, guiding what takes root. The second tool is meditation. If mindfulness is the watchful eye, meditation is the deep training of the heart and mind. Sitting quietly, returning again and again to the breath, you discover something radical. Thoughts lose their grip when you stop chasing them. Worries dissolve when you do not feed them. In the stillness of meditation, you realize you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness beneath them. Meditation is not escape. It is encounter with yourself, with your shadows, with your hidden fears. But it is also encounter with peace, with clarity, with the boundless space of the present. Over time, meditation reshapes the very pathways of the brain, carving rivers of calm where storms once raged. The third tool is perhaps the hardest, yet the most liberating: letting go. To let go is not to abandon life, but to release the clinging that binds you. You let go of grudges that poison your heart. You let go of identities that no longer serve you. You let go of the illusion that you can control everything. Letting go is an act of courage because the ego wants to hold on to stories, to wounds, to possessions, to praise. But the more you cling, the more you suffer. And the moment you release even a little, you taste freedom. Like unclenching a fist, the mind opens, and in that openness, life flows again. Together, these three tools, mindfulness, meditation, letting go, form the path of transformation. They are not quick fixes. They are practices like muscles that strengthen with use. And with them, you no longer live as a prisoner of old habits. You become an artist of awareness, shaping each moment with intention. But here's the deeper truth. These tools are not foreign. They are already within you. Every breath you take is an invitation to mindfulness. Every pause is an entry into meditation. Every moment of release is a chance to let go. The question is not whether you have the tools, the question is whether you will pick them up. And when you do, you begin to notice a shift. Anger no longer controls you. Fear no longer dictates your choices. Desire no longer enslaves you. Instead, clarity guides you. Compassion flows through you. Peace becomes not a rare visitor but a steady companion. This is the transformation promised by the Dharma. Not in some distant future, not in another lifetime, but here in this very breath, in this very step, in this very choice to awaken. Pause for a moment now. Notice your breath. Feel the stillness between the words. That pause, that awareness, is the doorway. And the doorway has always been open. There comes a point in practice when you realize something quietly revolutionary. Freedom is not somewhere out there. It is right here in the space between impulse and response. Most people live on autopilot. The alarm rings, the phone lights up, the habits kick in, the same thoughts, the same emotions, the same reactions. Life becomes a loop, a repeating script. You are not living, you are being lived by your habits. But when mindfulness and meditation begin to shape your awareness, that cycle cracks open. Suddenly, you catch yourself before the anger spills out. You notice the craving before it drives you. You see the worry before it swallows you. In that noticing, you stand at a crossroads, repeat the old pattern or choose differently. This is the essence of freedom: to choose. To pause before replying with harsh words and instead speak with compassion. To resist the reflex to escape discomfort and instead breathe with it, learn from it. To decline the pull of distraction and instead remain present to what truly matters. It may sound small, just a pause, just a choice, but in truth, it is everything. Because each choice is a seed. And with every mindful choice, you plant a future of freedom instead of bondage. The Buddha often spoke of liberation not as a distant prize, but as a way of living now. Liberation begins each time you break a chain of habit. It is not about floating above the world, it is about walking through it awake. Think of a river. When you are caught in habits, you are swept along, helpless against the current, but with mindful choice, you step to the bank. The river still flows, but you are no longer its prisoner. You watch. You decide when to enter, when to step back, when to let it pass. Of course, habits are powerful. Some are carved by years, even lifetimes. To shift them requires patience. It requires forgiveness because you will stumble. You will fall back into old grooves. But even then, mindfulness transforms the stumble into teaching. You see more clearly why you reacted, what triggered you, how you might choose differently next time. In this way, even mistakes become steps on the path. And slowly, the chains loosen. You begin to notice more lightness in your days, more silence between thoughts, more freedom to respond with love rather than fear. This is not theory, this is lived experience. The taste of freedom is not dramatic. It is subtle, like a cool breeze after a storm. But once you have tasted it, you cannot forget. To live by mindful choice is to reclaim authorship of your life. No longer a character in someone else's script, no longer a machine of reflexes, you become the storyteller. Your mind ceases to be a prison and becomes a compass, pointing you toward the life you wish to live. And the beauty of it is this: the path does not end. Each day is another chance, each breath another opening, each choice another step toward freedom. So pause now, feel your breath. Ask yourself, what am I choosing in this moment? Because that choice, however small, is the beginning of your liberation. At the heart of everything we have explored, one truth shines clear: where your mind goes, your life follows. Your mind is the compass, the architect, the storyteller of your existence. Every thought, every choice, every breath shapes the direction of your journey. And while the world may clamor with noise and distractions, while habits may try to chain you, the key has always been in your hands. Freedom is not out there. It is not a reward waiting at the end of a distant road. It is here now, in the silence between two thoughts, in the pause before you act, in the courage to choose differently. The Buddha taught that we become what we think. If your thoughts are rooted in fear, you live in fear. If they grow from anger, you live in anger. But if they bloom with compassion, with wisdom, with presence, you live in peace. This is not just philosophy. It is the living truth of your mind. So ask yourself, what kind of garden am I tending within? What seeds am I planting each day? Because life does not simply happen to you. Life grows from you. The path we've walked together has shown that you are not a prisoner of your habits, nor a victim of your past. You are the chooser, you are the witness. You are the gardener of your inner world. And here lies the profound invitation: choose with awareness. Choose thoughts that uplift, not those that destroy. Choose silence over noise, compassion over anger, presence over distraction. Each choice is a thread, weaving the fabric of your destiny. The outer world will always shift, storms will come, seasons will change, people will enter and leave. But the inner world, your mind, is the ground from which everything grows. Master it, and you will find a freedom no circumstance can take away. And so, the destination is not a place, but a way of being. It is not somewhere beyond the horizon, but right here, in the stillness of your own breath. When you choose your mind, you choose your life. So carry this with you. The next time the world pulls you into chaos, return to your compass. Return to your mind, because every moment is a chance to begin again. Every breath is an opening to freedom. Every thought is a step toward the life you were meant to live. This is the journey. This is the invitation. This is the freedom that has always been yours. Where your mind goes, your life follows. Choose well, choose with love, choose with awareness, and your life will follow into peace.